California Democrats have made a deal to help Trump-proof the blue state. They've agreed to stash $50 million for any potential legal fights with the incoming Trump administration. $25 million of that will be for the state DOJ to fund potential court battles with the federal government. The other half will be to defend illegal immigrants from deportation, detention, and wage theft. That's something Politico first reported.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called for a special legislative session to prepare for Trump's deportation plans. Here's part of what he said.
So why would we want to twiddle our thumbs when we know that this is a major initiative? This is probably the most significant initiative, domestic initiative, that the new administration is going to do. So we need to be ready. And everybody who's in law enforcement, state and local, they need to know you have responsibilities to help facilitate this important interest for our country. We'll provide you funding for it, but you got to be on the team here, and I think you need to do that on day one.
DeSantis also had a message for those who refuse to properly perform their duties in regards to mass deportation.
On the head of a natural disaster, you got people that come here without authorization and they go out and try to loot the place. Give me a break. Those people need to be sent back immediately. So this will end up helping the overall situation, even apart from immigration. Now, the accountability is significant. If those duties are clear in law, I have the authority with respect to certain officials to suspend them from their office if they are neglecting their duties, and that's a authority that I have invoked when it's been appropriate in the past.
Florida Senate President Ben Albritton and House Speaker Daniel Perez, both Republicans, wrote a joint letter Monday criticizing DeSantis' call for a special session. The letter reads in part, "It is completely irresponsible to get out ahead of any announcements President Trump will make, especially when uninformed or ill-timed state action could potentially impair or impede the success of President Trump's forthcoming efforts to end illegal immigration, close our borders, and protect the sovereignty of our nation." Democratic Florida State Congresswoman Anna Eskamani took to Blue Sky and commented on the letter, writing, "Nice when there are those rare bipartisan moments where we can all agree that Governor DeSantis is wrong."
Some on the right, however, praise DeSantis. Town Hall writer Scott Moorfield wrote on X, "I don't think Trump was bluffing about his deportation intentions, but if he was, Ron DeSantis is calling that bluff. This is the platform that won the election, and setting the expectation that Trump keep his own promises is a brilliant political strategy." Claremont Institute fellow David Riaboy once again writes this, "Once again, DeSantis leads every red state, should do something similar, not only on immigration, but on every issue." They clearly ran on some level of deportations, at least. I don't think there should be mass deportations of otherwise law-abiding citizens, but there is clearly a desire in this country of the American people. Trump couldn't have been clearer that that's what he was running on, to do something about excessive illegal immigration. And, you know, if Gavin Newsom is going to stockpile funds to have the state represent illegal immigrant defendees, that doesn't seem like the most politically savvy use of taxpayer dollars. Haven't we all decided that the states don't get to just do whatever they want when it comes to immigration? That states, red states that tried to have stricter border enforcement, then the national government policy got told, no, you can't do that because immigration is a national issue. I guess I don't know why it should be any different here.
So in relation to the immigration issue, I think we are in agreement that it is a federal issue rather than a states issue. But I think, as I understand the Newsom proposal, it is to defend immigrants on an individualized basis if there is an argument that, I don't know, they have not got due process or whatever. The other point, just before we get back to DeSantis, but on the Newsom point, the $25 million to fund the state Department of Justice to fight Trump seems to me completely normal. There has been enormous efforts by Republican attorneys general to defy or to block the Biden agenda. This is something that states do all the time. And I was relatedly sorry I wasn't here the past couple of days to fight with you over the California wildfire politics, because I think there's a lot of really dubious stuff being put out there. I have seen this move of Newsom's being cast as like, oh, they've $25 million to fund legal challenges to Trump and not fight the wildfires. That's just such a nonsense argument to me. I mean, that's not, it's irrelevant to the wildfire question whether they're going to get $25 million to fight, to put into their legal fund to fight against Trump, as they have a right to do, in my view.
Yeah, I guess that's not the most persuasive criticism. I mean, I think it's perfectly acceptable to criticize Gavin Newsom, and especially Karen Bass, for wildfires related stuff. I mean, the whole city is ablaze, and it's under Democratic governance. So on some level, there was a failure. And
no, mate, the whole city was ablaze. It's under Democrat. I mean, I'm sure that's like saying there's a tornado in Texas. It's under Republican governance.
Well, okay, but they're supposed to be preparing for these eventualities, and the first fire that's ever taken place.
Well, I'm glad we're going to get into our fight about the wildfires. So look,
I mean, my views are not that strong, but
go
off.
It's just that I think that there is a lot of demagoguery around the actual facts of the case. Karen Bass cut the fire department budget at most by about 2 to 3%. This notion of Gavin Newsom and the smelt fish is just completely irrelevant to any form of either firefighting or irrigation in the Los Angeles area. At most, that was to do with moving water from Northern California to the Central Valley. But look, my whole argument on the wildfires is, if a large-scale wildfire breaks out and there are winds of around almost 100 miles an hour, that means you can't put aircraft up. You're automatically in deep trouble as soon as that happens. There is no municipal system anywhere in the United States that can fight wildfires from fire hydrants. That isn't possible. And in order to make it possible, you would have to spend an astronomical amount of money on infrastructure that would mostly be redundant, because most of the time we aren't fighting catastrophic wildfires.
Yeah, I somehow think that if Republicans were in charge here, there would be plenty of bashing how they are handling it from mainstream media people and Democratic figures, and we would hear actually we're hearing this already, right, about how polluting corporations or something are killing the planet, and Elon Musk, etc. type people have blood on their hands for allowing the climate crisis. In fact, I'm hearing that right now. So there's plenty of politicizing of tragedy, and now we're complaining we can't do that. This is the first time ever it's not been allowed.
There's certainly politicizing of tragedy, and I don't necessarily see why the president-elect referring to Governor Newsom as new scum helps anybody. But my broader point is, a lot of the decisions that were made are kind of red herrings. The situation through the awesome forces of nature, awesome in a terrifying sense, made it very difficult to counteract. And what Gavin Newsom thinks about the smelt fish, or whether Karen Bass was in Ghana or Glendale,
no. But Karen Bass, look, it wasn't going to stop the fire from happening, but Karen Bass said, the New York Times even called her out for this. She said she was not going to travel internationally, that she was just going to go to D.C. or Sacramento or something, and she's repeatedly traveled out of the country, including to for the Olympic Games of some kind. And look, she explicitly made a promise she wasn't going to do that she broke.
I mean, if we want to make the specific argument that Karen Bass
biggest deal in the world
is traveling more than she promised, okay, let's criticize Karen Bass for traveling more than she promised. But the notion that there is a correlation, some sort of umbilical cord connecting her being in Ghana to the response to the wildfires, I think is specious at best.
Did you see the video about the DEI firefighters?
I did not, but I'm sure you watched it eagerly.
I don't even know if we want to
go there.
Want to open this.
But this is the fire chief who criticised Bass also criticised from the right for being some kind of diversity hire, essentially.
Yes, for a video. The problem with the video, and look, whoever is most qualified to do the job, if a woman has the physical strength, whatever the requirements are, that's perfectly fine with me. But the video it talks about how a person might be, if they're wondering, could you carry me out of a burning building in a fire, and it says in the video, well, it's your fault for getting yourself in that situation in the first place. It's just like a very weird line in this video promoting the DEI ability. Like, no, you're supposed to assure me that you're capable of doing this job, and then I'd be like, fine. But what you're kind of conceding is that you can, and it's my fault for being in a fire. But you're right that fire chief is now going after Karen Bass, I think, to deflect attention from that video. So there's a little bit of coordination going on.
Exactly, a lot of finger pointing going on.
Well, up next, MSNBC is turning to a familiar face to try and save their ratings. You know that face. It's Rachel Maddow. We'll talk about it. Stay tuned.